everyone, welcome back to another Monday makeup lesson. Today I'm going to show you guys how to apply a full face of makeup using just one brush. Yep, just one. I've already done this technique for the eyes, which I will link up here and also in the description box. But today I'm going to show you guys how to do foundation, concealer, highlighter, contour, blush, absolutely everything using just one brush. And I decided to go with the F20 because I know some of you guys already own this already, so you won't have to go buying anything. The F20. So I've already prepped with a moisturizer. You can also apply a primer if you need to. And we're going to start off with concealer. This is the Urban Decay Naked Concealer. I have it in the shade Light Neutral, which is a little bit more pink toned, but it's great for counteracting any discoloration underneath the eyes, making them appear a little bit brighter. So I always like to apply this one first. So I'm just going to apply this where I need to, and I'm not going to blend it. I'm actually going to apply my foundation over the top and blend all together. I'm using the Bourjois Healthy Mix. This is the new one. Absolutely obsessed with this, and I use the shade number 51. So you want to apply a little bit on the back of your hand, and what I like to do is just spread it out evenly in like a nice thin layer. Use whatever's left over on your fingertips, just on the tips of the bristles, like so. You never want to get foundation deep inside here. It has to stay on the white tips. So that's why I spread it out, because when I do this, I'm not going to blob it onto the brush. I'm going to very lightly coat the very tips. Press it in to the foundation just like so. So it picks up a little droplet on every little tip of the bristles. And then you just want to start stippling this over the face. So this creates full coverage just by dotting it like this, dispersing a little bit of product at a time. If you've got really amazing skin or you don't have much time to apply your foundation, do it in little buffing motions like this. It'll disperse it a lot quicker for you, and it'll give you a sheer finish as well. When you're getting right underneath the eyes, just tilt the brush slightly, so you're just going to get the very edge here, and that will get right underneath those lashes for you. And the same when you do the top, you're going to tilt it slightly downwards so it's pushing against the lid and getting really close to those lashes, covering the eyelid perfectly. And the same when you go around the nose, just really use the edge of the brush to work around. It still amazes me how well this brush works. I haven't used too much foundation. It looks still quite sheer and still quite skin-like, but this brush has done all the work in covering up anything that I want to possibly hide. What I want you guys to do now is make sure there's not too much product on the brush. If there is, say if you've pumped out a little bit too much foundation, just use a tissue and just rub it over and back just to get rid of the excess. Or if there's just a little bit left, use it on your neck just to blend out the foundation. And you can go right up to the ears as well. That way you get a perfect blend, and you also get rid of any excess foundation that might be sitting on here. Because next what I want you guys to do is to use your setting powder. Whether it's a translucent powder or a slightly tinted one like this, and load your brush up. That's why it's really important to make sure there's not too much foundation on here to begin with, because any of that dampness will just interfere with our powder. So you want to get rid of any excess to start with, and then you can go in with your powder. And I'm just going to do exactly the same thing, the little stippling motion, and this will just set our makeup in place for us. If you've got a drier skin type and you're applying powder, make sure you do a little pressing motion rather than a swirl, because a swirl will kind of lift up any dry patches. The same goes if you have little hairs on your face that you're a bit embarrassed about. We all have hair. Don't worry about it. But if you are worried about it sticking up, use a sweeping down motion, and this will just make sure that all the hairs lie flat. But for everybody else who has normal to oily skin, you can use a buffing motion if you just want to apply a very light amount of powder. So now that our foundation is on and set, we can move on to highlighting, contouring, and blush. The really important thing is we're going to use powders from now on. The powders seem to work best for this technique. So what you're going to do is use the very edge of the brush for highlighting, then for contouring, and then I'll show you guys how to do blush. So it's really important to make sure you remember which side of the brush you're using for each of these. I'm going to start off with the highlighter that's in this palette. So I'm going to roll one side of the brush into the highlighter, just like so. Make sure it doesn't get onto the other side. You want to use just one side, so keep in mind where you've applied it. And then I'm going to press it on the top of the cheeks. So I'm doing a little sweeping motion, working from the top down, then across the top of the lip and the nose, a little bit on the forehead, still using just one side of the brush. So we have our highlighter on. Now you're going to flip it over. We're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to roll it into our contour. So I have my contour powder right here. I'm going to use the side that doesn't have highlighter on it, so the highlighter is facing towards you guys. And you're going to roll this into the contour. So you should just be coating the very tips of one side. As you guys can see, it's just along the very edge here. I'm not going in the center part. It's just along the edge. So use the corner of the mouth, the top of the ear as our guide, and you're going to roll this into the hollow of your cheeks. and also along the jawline. And then just sweep it across the hairline as well. Then all you want to do is just to turn the brush slightly more flat and sweep it across the jawline. The same on the forehead. And in this hollow part, I want you guys just to use the very edge of the brush. It should be clean by now because we've dispersed it everywhere else. And then slightly push upwards, working against the apple of the cheek. Now for blush, we're going to use the center. So we've used the highlighter, contour, and the center is for the apples of the cheeks and our blush. So I'm going to take a little bit of blush from this palette. So it's just in the center here. And remember, the last step is blush, always, because otherwise you're going to tint your highlighter and tint your contour with your blush, which you don't want. So I just have the blush in the very center part here on the flat side of the brush, and you're just going to press this onto the apple of the cheeks in little circular motions. And then you can use very light sweeping motions working up towards the ear. And there you go. That is how to do a full face of makeup using just one brush. And all you have to do now is to wash the brush, set it aside, and you can use it again tomorrow. Definitely check out the videos on the screen now, which also involve just using one brush. And I will see you guys on Friday.